Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. My name is Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
I'm DJ Ross in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover, we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week we're looking back on the games that kept us up all year. This is part 2 of our list of our favorite games of 2019.
Just the idea of being stuck playing one game for an entire year is exhausting to me.
I'm so tired.
I just got super tired as soon as you said that.
I just want to go to sleep. Yeah, I know, right? So how are you? How you been? How was your week?
It was pretty good. Played a lot of, what did I play? Dragon Quest Builders, probably. The game that never ends.
Yep. This is the game that never ends.
Yeah, no, speaking of, I joke about only playing one game for an entire year, but it very nearly, it felt like that a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I had that this year. Probably Slay the Spire. That was probably my all-year game. That was probably the one I went back to.
The all-year game.
The all-year game. The one that I would sort of like finish a game and go, what's next? What else do I have? Let's play more Slay the Spire.
This is getting a little ahead, maybe. But I've been considering, I've just been thinking, like, would it be possible to go this entire year and not play any new 2020 video games?
No, because then you couldn't play Animal Crossing.
Well, I know Animal Crossing is there. But, like, besides that, my backlog is pretty substantial. I still have a lot of games from last year and even the year before that I want to get around to.
That's possible. That's totally a thing. People do that.
I think it's totally feasible. I could just play Fortnite the entire year.
You could. There are people who just, like, buy Madden every year and play nothing else.
Yeah, I could do that. I've never played a Madden game.
It would be real weird to start now, then.
Maybe this is the year. Maybe I'm missing out. Maybe that's just my thing.
Maybe once you play Madden, you don't need any other games.
Right. Is that how it works?
Mm-hmm.
None of these people actually know how to play football. There's just something about the Madden experience.
Just video game football.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if I've played video game football. Have I? I'm not a big football guy. I don't know if that comes across. But I just realized I don't know if I ever played, like, I've played baseball in a video game, played soccer, football for you, those of you in other countries. Never played an American football game. Weird.
No. Nor have I. No. Most of my experience with sports is in video games, and that is a sport that I have not experienced in real life or in a video game.
Do they play American football in Japan? I was just thinking they made Mario soccer.
Yeah.
But there's never been like a Mario football. That
Mario
seems
football
like
game.
an obvious in to get me to play football, but it's never happened.
We had Mario versus Rabbids. We could have Mario versus the NFL.
I was going to say, like, quick name a football team.
Name football guys 2020.
Yeah. Mark McGuire.
I don't know who that is.
Prince. He played football at some point, undoubtedly. Okay, time to talk about stuff we know.
We've dug
what
a hole.
other video games were good last year?
You know, it was a good video game that I played last year that I really enjoyed was Outer Wilds.
This is on my list of shame. There's always the list of games. There's 2 lists, actually. There's the list where I'm like, these are the games I need to blitz through at the end of the year so I can maybe put them on my Game of the Year list. And then there's just the other list, which is I will never get around to playing these games until next year. Outer Wilds was on the first list, and then it just slipped to the second list for some reason.
It's really good. You should play it.
That's what I hear.
Yep. And the good thing about your maybe theory of only playing old games in 2020 is that you could then play Outer Wilds. Because I would recommend this game. It is it's a little tough to recommend because I think it's a game that defies you in its earliest hours to quit playing it. You are an alien on a decidedly low-tech planet who is a member of their space exploration force. And you, in the early hours of the game, in the early minutes of the game, essentially, run around your village, get to know who you are and who's around you and what your mission is, get on a spaceship that doesn't fly very well, and fly it to your random locations throughout your solar system around your home planet. And then something happens. Every 20 minutes, the world explodes. and you scrub back to the beginning and have to start over.
Okay.
And again, like Slay the Spire, like any
so it's
good
one of these roguelikes.
Roguelike. You start that second and third and fourth and fifth playthrough with the knowledge that you've learned from your previous ones, and it allows you to use your time a little more efficiently. And there are a handful of planets and a mystery that sort of presents itself, not the least of which is, why does the world keep exploding every 20 minutes? And you make some fun friends along the way. There's some cool musical stuff that happens that seems really random, but is actually quite heartfelt and beautiful. It has just the most pitch perfect ending that I adored. Yeah, it sticks the landing in a way that a lot of games do not, unfortunately.
That's good.
But yeah, I really, really loved Outer Wilds. I recommend it with a caveat that it will defy you. It will challenge you really, really aggressively in the beginning to stop playing it because you're frustrated. I would encourage you to find the little screen on your ship that gives you the little bubbles of the mysteries that you've sort of encountered thus far, and to use that essentially as your checklist of where to go and what to do next, because that will keep you kind of walking the path, I think, and keep you tied to the kind of the great mystery here, which is a really smart tool. Thank God for that thing. Otherwise it would just be me scribbling notes on a piece of paper on my coffee table.
I think you talked about this. I mean, you've talked about this on a previous show.
Yeah.
When it resets itself, does it completely reset itself, or does your character still like retain information? Not really. That's not what I mean. But like, does it say like game over and it kicks you back to the title screen, or do you like wake up like Groundhog Day style and go, oh, I need to try again? Does that make sense?
No, it doesn't kick you back to the title screen. It just, the screen goes white, and then you wake up in your sleeping bag at the camp in front of your spaceship again and start over.
Okay, but it's not like you really retain things from your previous playthrough or information.
Nothing you
even
collect, really, except for information. It's really smart because the character that you play as in the game is aware that this loop is happening.
Oh, your character is aware of it. Okay.
Yes.
That's what I was wondering. Probably.
And you, of course, as the player and the controller are aware of that as well. So the two of you are the only ones, really, until you get further in the game, and maybe there's others. But right. I think it's real smart the way they sort of structured it.
Interesting.
Would recommend.
Okay, well, it's still on a list somewhere. I want to play this eventually.
Yep. Do not confuse this with Outer Worlds.
No, and it has been incredibly confusing.
Correct. That is a game that I think other people really like. I didn't play that game. I would recommend, though, Outer Wilds.
Okay.
Yep. And I think it's on just about everything now. It was Xbox and PC only for a while, but now I believe it's made its way to certainly PS4.
One of my favorite recommendations from last year was whenever you talk about either of these games, you just pronounce it like a really old-timey cartoon character so nobody can tell what you're talking about. So you just be like, hey guys, played a lot of the Outer Wilds this weekend. Wait, what? Which game? Yeah, Outer Wilds. Real good time. Check it out.
I have follow-up questions.
Please do not direct them to me.
Yeah. What else? What else we got on our list? Another one that I would recommend, and this was sort of a late arrival in the year. It's funny. You and I, 2-3 weeks ago when we were still recording episodes in 2019, said we're going to come back in 2020 with our favorite games of 2019. And I talked about how it was weird that some people, like on December 1st, were putting out their favorite games of the year. And I'm like, The year's not over. There could be other games that come out. And then another game came out, and that game was The Touryst. And I played. It
was real weird. I mean, before you talk about The Touryst, how apparently for the Game Awards, they cut off the nomination period like early December or late November or something like that. So like this year, on the most recent show, like Smash Brothers was nominated. I was like, that didn't come out this year.
Right.
But then I discovered that there was this kind of arbitrary weird cutoff so they can make broadcast, which is, I don't know. Seemed a little silly. I mean, award shows and the whole Game of the Year process in general is a little silly.
Yes.
So why not just make it a little sillier? But anyway, The Touryst.
The Tourist. Yes, I agree with that. It's weird that Smash was winning Game of the Year awards and it came out a year ago. But The Tourist has nothing to do with Smash Brothers. It is, again, another delightful little game. I would say probably closer in the vein to something like A Short Hike, where it's a little bit kind of frictionless experience. You are a little blocky voxel character who is on his vacation, relaxing in a flowery Hawaiian shirt on a beach, and you get embroiled in some great cosmic mystery. That compels you to use your vacation time to zip around a series of islands to interact with interesting and fun and colorful and eccentric characters and piece together unusual mystery that I can't say anything more about without sort of ruining the surprise. There's no combat in the traditional sense. There's puzzles you solve. There's sort of enemies you avoid. But at no point do you sort of pick up a gun or get explosives or do anything crazy like that. You really are just sort of a tourist here. You are sort of exploring and flipping switches and I don't know, walking around and talking to people. And yeah, there's a museum full of things that you have to fill up during the course of your experiences. There's an eccentric old man who came here on vacation and stayed forever because he got embroiled in the mystery too. And you become sort of his foil essentially in trying to sort of solve the mystery he could not. And yeah, it's just, it's weird. Super fun and super cute. And there's a lot to it. There's a lot of weird little detours you can go down and things you can collect and characters you can meet. It was this thing that, man, was just sort of dumped into the end of 2019. And I think maybe a lot of folks probably overlooked at the end of the year that I would totally recommend. Yeah.
Yes, I caught wind of this a couple days ago, and I was like, I maybe play this game.
Yeah, you would. I think you would dig it. I think it's kind of in your. I hate the word wheelhouse, but it's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, it's in the wheelhouse.
It looks like Minecraft. I think if I sort of had to give it a label, a little blocky characters in a little blocky world where everything is sort of made of Legos, essentially.
Got that kind of blocky, everybody's got a square head.
Correct. But yeah, it's doing something kind of interesting and linear in a Minecraft world, essentially.
Nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I would recommend The Tourist. What do you got on your list, DJ? What else is...
I did not really put my list in order intentionally, but we're kind of coming down on my absolute top favorites in the last year.
Oh, really?
So I want to give a shout out to Untitled Goose Game. Just another one of those nice little weekend games. It was just a delight from start to finish, and I really have been impressed with just how much of a following it's received on like social media.
The internet loves this game.
Yeah,
whether or not anybody actually played it. Yeah,
everybody's making their Goose memes, putting the Goose in other memes. So that's been very fun to see. It's
starting campaigns to put the Goose in Smash.
Yeah, that would be excellent.
Yeah,
feels like it's not every day that a game, the internet gets swept up with a game quite as much as it has with Untitled Goose Game. Which is also made by a very small team, so that's also very exciting.
Yeah, and they sold a ton of copies of it. I think they
sold over 1 million copies, I believe.
Yeah, which for kind of an upstart indie developer is a hell of a number.
Yep. So I can't wait for the next game. Untitled Goose sells out and makes a first-person shooter. Or
Untitled
whatever.
Goose FPS. Yeah.
Right. Untitled Goose Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Oh man, speaking of Battle Royale.
Yep.
Tetris 99.
Yeah.
Completely forgot about it, but that came out. That's a great game.
That is a great game.
It seems like a joke premise, but it actually works extremely well. The best Battle Royale game that I played in 2019.
It is the only Battle Royale game I think I played in. No, I played some Fortnite. I did play
a little Fortnite.
Yeah. Played a little Fortnite here and there, but yeah, it was man, when they teased this earlier in the year, I think at one of those Nintendo Directs, and it was one of those things that was sort of like available now. It was Tetris Battle Royale, and I was like, that doesn't sound like a good combination. And then I played it, and it's an amazing combination.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I feel like we should apologize to it for ever doubting Tetris.
Yeah, Tetris almost always delivers, despite developers over the course of the year trying to do some wacky shit with it and maybe not quite understanding what makes Tetris compelling. I think Tetris 99 totally gets it. Yeah, and it becomes this sort of interesting, in the way that sort of Tetris is anyways, this kind of game of inches where, you compete against 99 other players, and sometimes you come in 15th, but the next time maybe you come in 14th. And holy shit, what if I came in 13th next time? And so, you just keep kind of throwing yourself against that wall, trying to shave off a couple of more lines and to stay in the game just a little bit longer than the next player. And that's why people play Fortnite forever and ever.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, it works surprisingly well with Tetris as your main draw.
Who would have imagined?
Someone, apparently. Yeah. It's a good time. And I think they did a lot of work to keep it alive too, and to keep it compelling with like little weekend events and stuff like that too. And it made it feel like a battle royale game. Yeah.
Super good.
What a delight. Other things that are delight and surprising: Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair. Yeah, this was I think I talked about when this came out that the first Yooka-Laylee kind of landed with a thud with me. Like I saw the trailers for it and I saw the Kickstarter and I was like, oh cool, it's the folks that made Banjo-Kazooie, they're making a new game and it's sort of just like Banjo-Kazooie. And I think maybe it just didn't land with a lot of folks. It just it seemed to be a bit of a fizzle. And then quickly a sequel was announced, and it was forsaking kind of the 3D world of Banjo-Kazooie and of the first Yooka-Laylee for like a 2D side-scroller. I think maybe I thought like, oh, it's rushed, or they're trying really hard to kind of keep Yooka-Laylee alive. But then no, wait, it actually turned out to be a really good, really compelling game. Yeah, in the way that I think the first Yooka-Laylee just did not, it didn't click. It didn't feel right. It feels perfect as a 2D side-scroller. It feels perfect as a platformer. And maybe it should have been this all along. It's got this really
I feel
interesting...
like everybody really likes the, kind of like the 2D Donkey Kong Country games.
Yes.
Like, I don't think you'll find somebody who's just like, oh, I hate them, terrible.
They're really hard, though. But
they are very difficult. Yep. But, I mean, even the newer ones, like, was it Donkey Kong Country Returns, have been pretty well received.
Yeah.
It just seems like an obvious thing, like, oh, the 3D one didn't go over so well. Hey, people like this other game that's in 2D.
Sure.
Let's just do that.
Yeah. If your new hook is rehashing old hooks, then they've rehashed a good one, I think. And it works with Yooka-Laylee in it. I think it's got an interesting conceit in that in the early part of the game, you come up against the final boss, and you're not ready yet. And you then have to spend the balance of the game building up your armor, essentially, collecting a piece of armor in every level that you go to. And then you can continue to throw yourself at the bad guy as your armor builds and builds and builds until you have enough to be able to do it. So conceivably, you could finish the game before you finish the game. Or you can just, go through, build up your armor all the way through, and then come back at the end like you're supposed to.
Yeah, just steamroll over the last boss.
Right, exactly. So it's really cool. And it has a kind of interesting hook where you play kind of the same levels under different circumstances. So times you'll go through and the entire world that you played before is now frozen over. So you're dealing with ice and you're dealing with new obstacles and different monsters. Or it's on fire this time and you have different blah, blah, blah. So it's an interesting sort of lesson in kind of reusing assets under new and interesting and more challenging circumstances. It's just kind of an interesting experiment of a game that throws a lot of fun stuff into its levels and challenges you to take on the challenge, essentially, to try to get your way to the end. So yeah, it was a surprise to me how much I liked this and how much it felt like, oh, they finally figured out what makes these games good. Yeah, what a surprise. Yooka-Laylee and the Impossible Lair.
So should the follow-up be another 2D game? Should they give 3D another chance? Or should they just make like a puzzle game? I don't know.
Right, yeah. Like a match 3 game. No, I don't know. No, it feels like this is the right way to go. Although it feels like, man, they just dumped a ton of ideas into Impossible Lair that I don't know if there's anything left on the drawing board to carry into a third game. Maybe that's their hook. Maybe it's like a SteamWorld thing where it's a different type of game every time. Maybe the next one is an RPG. Maybe the next one is a kart racer. Who knows?
I bet a kart racer would go over pretty well, people.
Yeah.
They should maybe think about it.
Yeah, I dig it. I think it's cool that there are devs like this who have this kind of interesting assortment of characters and kind of an interesting world that they've built and are not afraid to experiment within that.
Interesting.
Yeah. It is just a really good puzzle game if you want to approach it from a different way. Yeah. What else, DJ? What else you got on your list?
I want to give a shout out to Devotion, which is the kind of horror exploration game from Red Candle Games.
Oh, okay.
Incidentally banned from every storefront on the internet. Can't play it anymore. Which is a real shame because I thought it was extremely good. I'm not really into horror games. So that should say something, I think. But I really enjoyed the studio's previous game, Detention, which was you're trapped in a school in martial law Taiwan. And it was like, it's a very modest experience. It was like kind of 2D side-scrolling. This one very much reminds me of PT. I didn't play PT, but that was the kind of first-person Silent Hill next-gen demo.
Right.
Where you're just in a hallway over and over, essentially. And this one's very similar because you were just in this one family's apartment in 1980s Taiwan, and you kind of revisit that same apartment in the same 3 or 4 rooms in different periods of this family's life and try and figure out like, oh, something horrible obviously happened to these people. Let's try and piece together like what their lives were like before this happened and try and figure out why. So there's kind of this cool central mystery. It's a lot of really spooky like Asian horror elements around it. Although as you play, like as I played more of the game, the horror stuff kind of took a backseat to just unraveling this mystery about this family and this very weird kind of different society that they inhabited, which I thought was which is very cool. And it's such a shame that it is not really easily available to people. I really hope that it will be back for sale for people to check out sooner rather than later, but it still seems like it's up in the air at this point.
That's a bummer. It sounds super compelling. I'm intrigued by it. And certainly everything that you've said about it, like all of this, you know, I love trapped in a room kind of horror. I love families kind of hashing it out. All of that stuff, if done well, can be very compelling. And it is a shame, like you said, that this is not more readily available because it sounds pretty accessible and like it would be successful if it could be accessed.
Yeah. I mean, it's such a shadow hanging over it. And I feel like it's going to be real unfortunate if it just becomes known as like the game that they had to pull from sale immediately. Because it's really good in its own right. So I don't know. Fingers crossed that it will make a reappearance someday.
Yeah, what a bummer. Some publisher needs to step up. Somebody with some money, some deep pockets. Yeah.
I was the last publisher like went out of business because of the controversy over this.
Yeah.
They got I don't know what's going on with the Chinese government and the laws surrounding it, but I imagine people are trying to keep their distance.
This sounds like one of those rogue developers, or what you call it? Not developer. What's the word? Like a publisher. Somebody like Devolver. Somebody who's got like a reputation for being a scoundrel. Could really kind of have fun with this and make sure that this game does not, like you said, become a forgotten chapter.
Yeah. If only it were that simple.
Yeah.
I have no idea what the actual issues are, but it would be great if somebody could just swoop in and save the day for these guys. Anyway, that's Devotion, Red Candle Games. Maybe look it up, watch a YouTube playthrough or something if you want to check it out.
Yeah. Or just corner DJ at the mall and make him tell you all about it.
Yeah. Oh, I don't want to give anything away. It's real creepy.
Cool. Speaking
of creepy games, Cadence of Hyrule, the opposite of that. This is the Crypt of the Necrodancer take on Legend of Zelda. Just another, this year, 2019, was all about games that I just blitzed over a weekend. Cadence of Hyrule was amazing. It is. I really like Crypt of the Necrodancer. That should be on this list as well because I only played that this year. Did not really understand why they were making a Zelda version of it. And at the same time, did not really understand why they were suddenly making a Zelda music game. Like, just two weird directions for each of those series that didn't really make sense. But playing the final product, it was just, again, a delight the entire time. Just bouncy Zelda remixes, bright, very nostalgia-heavy Zelda characters and environments and bosses. It was just so much fun. They should make another one of these. I don't know.
I love that this exists. I love that this is a cool story about an indie developer who got to do something cool with the Zelda license. I love the music. The soundtrack is fantastic. I just do not enjoy playing it, unfortunately. Yeah. Where it clicked with you is where it completely disconnected for me, and for a while, I think probably the same weekend that you were in your glory with it, I continued to attempt to sort of wrap my brain around the flow of gameplay here and just could not get to a point where I felt like I knew what the heck I was doing.
It's tough, and this is something I thought about when they announced it, because like Crypt of the Necrodancer is extremely difficult.
Yeah.
Not just like, even once you learn how to play it, it is still difficult. But just starting out, it's not incredibly intuitive because it's designed to be played in sync with the soundtrack. It is, I don't know, it's just very demanding on the player. You have to spend a lot of time just kind of learning how to move and interact with all the like switches and enemies in that game. It has a pretty steep learning curve. Mm-hmm. And while, Cadence of Hyrule ends up being overall easier, like once you learn how to play it, it is much easier than Crypt of the Necrodancer. It's much more forgiving in many rights. It still has that initial wall of like, how do I control this game? Like, it doesn't play like a Zelda game. It's like a weird rhythm hybrid game. And there are some options where you can downplay like the rhythm aspects of it.
Right.
But I think it's still just a weird oddity that you kind of have to teach yourself how to play. So I don't know really how it was received overall. I know that like some people like yourself have had some difficulty getting into it, but
yeah,
I guess what I'm saying is like, I don't know, maybe try it again.
You're just not doing it right, Randy.
Well, I think it's not clear. It's not overly clear like how to do it right to begin with, because right. like people probably see it looks like a Zelda game. That's your first kind of reaction. It's just like, oh, this is just Zelda. I know how to play that, but it is something else.
Yeah.
And it's tough because even though they have that mode where you don't have to play along with the soundtrack, I think it's like, it really shines when you do line up everything with the music and everything is kind of on the beat and it all just kind of gels together.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, I was very sad that it didn't resonate with me because I liked nearly everything else about the game except actually playing it. So it was really hard for me to kind of get to that point and acknowledge like, all right, well, maybe it's not for me. Maybe I just have to be satisfied enough that this exists and the soundtrack is amazing.
Well, you still got it. You go back to it once in a while.
Oh yeah, it's not. I didn't throw it away. I mean, it still lives there, and I can consume it whenever I want to. And that is the joy of living in this modern age.
Right.
Yep. Cool. I want to talk about Afterparty as we wind down our lists here. I'm kind of coming up on the last couple of games that I want to talk about for the year, and Afterparty was one of those kind of late in the year games. I think came out in October that I consumed pretty aggressively. I really liked this game a lot. This is the new game, the second game from Night School Studio, the folks that made Oxenfree. And it is very similar to Oxenfree in that it's in a lot of ways kind of a walking simulator. You are two 20-somethings who have woken up in hell and are not quite sure how you got there. So you have essentially 24 hours before your trial in hell to find a way out, to find out why are you here and what have you done that got you here. And you unlock a loophole. You find out that if you can challenge Satan himself to a drinking contest and beat him, you get a free pass. You get released from hell with his congratulations. So you set out to do that thing. And in that, explore the many neighborhoods of hell, the many dive bars that make up the neighborhoods of hell, encounter a cast of colorful characters, find your own personal demon who shows up from time to time to haunt you with the horrible decisions you've made in your life. And you get to know your friend. You have these two characters who clearly know each other really, really well, who know each other well enough that they can sort of torture each other a little bit, but still kind of love each other. And it is this really kind of surprisingly well-crafted sort of depiction of a relationship, of a modern relationship between two people who love each other enough to pick on each other, I think. Sometimes gently, sometimes a little aggressively. What those two people do with 24 hours left to kind of prove their innocence and get their way out of hell.
It's kind of like I don't know, when you describe it as a walking simulator, I just think of that as more of a more narrative heavy kind of adventure style game.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily say it's that, but it is a lot of you kind of walking from bar to bar and walking around inside of a bar and talking to, the many lords of hell and challenging them to beer pong or a dance off and stuff like that. And you get a little mini game that does those things. But yeah, it's not really much more than that. At no point are you like, operating a vehicle or shooting a gun or anything like that. So yeah, in a lot of ways, it's kind of a walking, talking simulator.
It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, it is absolutely the perfect way to sort of deliver this story. And I think the entire thing is in service of these great characters, not just the two kind of main characters, but the colorful cast that you encounter in hell as well. It's good. I think it says a lot without kind of beating you over the head with it. You have the choice to sort of like experience it and I kind of like or I dislike these people because they ride a fine line sometimes between being kind of unlikable and horrible and being kind of endearing and cute. And I think we all contain multitude, so we're probably a lot of those things sometimes simultaneously. But yeah, I really think there's just some really good writing that happens here and some really good kind of world building and character building. And I just think it's a really nice kind of piece of art.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm a fan. What else you got, DJ? What else have we not talked about yet?
Well, we talked about it in passing, but Dragon Quest Builders 2, I knew this was going to be a big deal. Although I have never been, in my memory, as conflicted about putting a game on my Game of the Year list as this game.
It has been a bit of a roller coaster watching you play this on social media because
I know. Ridiculous.
Yeah, you've been live tweeting your consumption of Dragon Quest Builders 2.
So I love this game. I love Dragon Quest Builders 1. That was just amazing. Description.
Mm-hmm.
It is essentially Dragon Quest meets Minecraft. But what really surprised me about Dragon Quest Builders 1 is it's not strictly just like open world, open-ended, do whatever you want, figure out what you need to do in this game to have fun. It's much more structured than Minecraft. There's like a central campaign, and you're tasked with building like specific things, mostly buildings in Dragon Quest Builders 1. That kept it very interesting and focused to me. I love that game. Dragon Quest Builders 2 is very excited about because it, first of all, it just made a lot of kind of quality of life improvements. The game plays, for the most part, much more smoothly than Dragon Quest Builders 1. The building projects in 2 are just massive and weird and unconventional compared to Dragon Quest Builders 1. It's like, whereas in the first one, you'd just be building a little tiny room in the corner of a castle or something. This one, it gets to the point where you're more or less building enormous cities and monuments, and it's kind of astounding if you just step back and be like, wow, I just built that. It's a little ridiculous.
Cool.
And every time I'm just like in the middle of building something and trying to like plan it out, whether it's like a huge like wing of a castle or just trying to get the little details right on like a cafe or something I'm building. Like, should I put some tables and chairs over here? Should I have a stove back here or whatever? I am just completely in love with it. It works so well on like a kind of a macro and micro level. Where I'm conflicted is for a couple of reasons. First of all, there is just so much dialogue in this game The characters never stop talking. A lot of the writing, it's like very cheerful and just kind of fun and upbeat. But there's so much of it. It really is a drag after just like an hour of playing this game. It really sucks. After a couple hours, I just started skipping through a lot of the dialogue, which I never do in a game. That's how much of it there is. And the other thing is, this is an issue I had with Dragon Quest Builders 1 as well, is the combat is horrible. And for a game that starts out saying like, oh, you're not a typical Dragon Quest hero, so you don't fight stuff and gain experience. You are the builder. So you gain experience by building up your base, and you don't fight stuff. You won't get XP that way. You just have to continue building, and that's how you develop. So with that in mind, it still makes you fight a lot in this game. And the fighting is terrible, and at some points it is just relentless and happens like while I'm trying to build stuff, which is, the primary reason why I'm playing this game. Mm-hmm. So why is there so much combat in this game? And like, if there's going to be this much combat, why isn't it fun? It's really bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's a Dragon Quest game. They have a built-in combat style. Why would you not just ape that then if you're going to do that thing?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that would be an improvement if I just had to stop whatever I was doing. I mean, at least in this case, I can have NPCs go out and they'll like fight monsters. They're not especially good at it. I can kind of pretend to ignore them in the background and like continue building stuff. But I just know like I should get myself over there before the NPCs just like let my castle get destroyed. So I had to go do it. I don't know if like switching to a turn-based thing would be much better, because it feels like that would just completely steal all of my attention at that point.
Yeah. I think it just needs to have the confidence to be a game about building.
Yeah, I think with like they have to make a third one, I assume, because I think these have been incredibly successful. They should just take out all the combat. I would be completely fine with that. Or just, I don't know, make it so it is so mind-numbingly easy. Because it's not especially difficult, it's just very grindy and mindless, the combat in this. Mm-hmm. If you just went out and like hit somebody with a hammer and they just like exploded and that was it, that would be great. That's enough for me. I appreciate having some amount of like danger and conflict in these games. I like that occasionally you have to go into enemy territory and gather resources or fight a boss or whatever. That's just not why I'm here. I just want to go back and build stuff and not be interrupted all the time. So as frustrating as that all is, the building is still amazing. The campaign is quite lengthy. I'm still trying to get to the point where it's just the free building mode, and I can hang out on my island in peace. But I've had such a good time with it. Like, the building has been so good. It's just been a terrific experience aside from all the other stuff, that it is right up there at the top of my list.
It's interesting to me that this made your list, but you have not talked about Dragon Quest XI yet.
Oh, Dragon Quest XI. I knew when Dragon Quest XI came out that I would be playing most of this game in 2020. I was just, there's no way that I would be able to squeeze it in with all the other stuff going on.
Yeah.
I've played a little bit of Dragon Quest XI, and I've liked what I have played. I'm looking forward to getting back to it at some point. But there's just no way I was going to be able to take in this entire game this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. Dragon Quest XI is on my list of shame as well, and I've big plans for 2020 in that game.
Dragon Quest XI.
Yep, just Dragon Quest XI, because nothing else is coming out. I want to talk about Control for a little bit.
Yeah.
I really admire this game. I think this is a really good game. This is the new game from Remedy, the makers of Max Payne, and some other games. But mostly Max Payne. Alan Wake. Yeah, that's a good game too. It's very much in the vein of those games, kind of narrative-heavy, character-driven, but with a really just significant mechanic for battle and combat that it throws at you from time to time. In this, you are a character who is looking for her missing brother, which leads her to a mysterious building called the Oldest House in a mysterious city, and you find yourself inside, and you are quickly promoted to the director of the bureau. and it is the Bureau of Paranormal something or others, and it is basically the bureaucracy, that's the word, that has hidden the reality of paranormal activity from the American people, from the world, essentially.
It's like the Men in Black.
In a lot of ways, yeah.
What's the other, what's the internet thing, the SCP Foundation?
So I don't know. I'm not sure.
You know about that? Oh.
I don't. Nope.
No, but that's like what it is.
But is it a lot? It is a lot of kind of mindless office drones who work really, really hard to make sure that people have boring, mundane lives. As you explore this weird and constantly shifting building, you are unearthing sort of the mystery of what happened to your brother, what happened to the people that used to work here, and what happened to all of the strange things from out in the world, the haunted refrigerators and books and things that that they have collected and filed away in the recesses of the oldest house. It is a game of just never-ending mysteries. It is a game where everything has a file attached to it and an audio log, and you could spend hours just reading interesting asides and stories, and listening to narratives and first-hand accounts of the strange thing that happened in Normal, Nebraska on November 5th, 1974, or whatever. Or you could continue to roam the hallways and look for your brother and fight bad guys with an array of cool powers and a weird gun. It's just a really, really cool game with a lot of layers, just stylistically beautiful. There is a lot of conviction and vision that has gone into kind of the stylistic approaches, even down to like the fonts they use, the kind of brutalist architecture of the building, the way the characters talk and move and interact. Just a lot of really interesting and deliberate and smart things go into making this product. This massive AAA game that does a lot of really weird things that AAA games don't normally do. So yeah, I dig it. I really admire it. Control is a very cool game.
I've been playing a little bit of this.
Cool.
It made it to the first of those 2 end of year lists where I thought maybe this could potentially be a game of the year. I have not finished it yet though.
Yeah.
And so far I've been enjoying it. I did not like. I think I enjoyed Alan Wake for the most part. A lot of it felt like it dragged on a little bit too long. There was maybe a little too much shooting. And it always felt, especially towards the end, that they were just trying so hard to impress me with how clever they were. And I get a little bit of that from this game. Mm-hmm. I guess that's just something to expect from Remedy. But so far, I think in general, I've been liking it a lot more than Alan Wake. I really what a cool premise to be inside. Like I said, not exactly the Men in Black, but just like the secret organization that has been kind of protecting society from behind the scenes.
Yeah. And
treating all these weird occult things as just part of the job. We found a haunted refrigerator. Let's take it to the lab and figure out how it works and that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, yes, I think that I would agree with that. I think that sometimes it does wallow in just being a game about shooting and blowing things up.
Yeah, I don't think the shooting is especially good, and there's a lot of it.
I think it gets, I found it more fun and like sort of the push and pull of it further in the game and this is probably stating the obvious, as I leveled up more and got more powers and more unlocked more moves and stuff like that. It felt much more zippy, and I think it feels super clunky in the early hours, and unfortunately it then loves to throw, here's 50 guys with rocket launchers, and a flying enemy that you can't, blah blah blah. So that stuff is super annoying when you are clunky, slow moving main protagonist in the early hours, but later on when she's just a brutal, efficient killing machine, those are really fun.
I got the sense that that's kind of the direction it's going in, because you keep unlocking these powers.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's just the same thing that happened in Alan Wake. You've got these weird, you got these crazy, occult powers in this. And in Alan Wake, you got the flashlight, which is your main defense against these shadow monsters. But also you just have a gun that you have to mod and upgrade, because how else are you going to kill monsters? Using these powers? No, you got to shoot them at some point.
Yeah.
I think, Same deal as Drag Quest Builders. Just make the next one. What if you didn't have a gun in your game? What if you had to find some other solution to things?
Yeah, I don't disagree. I would love to see Remedy make a game that wasn't so intent on being a shooter. It worked for Max Payne. It is the central conceit in a lot of ways of Max Payne.
It's like all about shooting a gun.
Right, yeah. And Remedy has looked for ways to incorporate something like that in every following game, and sometimes those results can be a little bit mixed. Yeah, I wish they had the ability, the conviction, the courage, the funding, maybe, to make a game that didn't necessarily have to hinge on that.
Yeah. What if it was just about delivering packages?
Death Stranding is the best Remedy game that Remedy didn't make. What's next? Man, I'm just about the end of my list, DJ. How about you?
Just one game left on my list, and that is, surprise, surprise, it is Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. I had a lot of time thinking about this game. It is really just an expansion. I mean, is it just an expansion, though? So this is the latest expansion pack to Final Fantasy XIV that came out this summer. I don't know how much I've talked about it at this point. Maybe not. I don't know if I talked specifically about the stuff in the main expansion, like that storyline, which is almost like a complete standalone Final Fantasy game at this point. It's really good. I think I got at least that part across when closer to when it came out. It was really, really good.
You have been very enthusiastic about this, yes.
Yeah. And I've been kind of preparing myself to have this end of year evaluation of what Shadowbringers is. And I have been thinking about how to best separate that from or how to best present that from somebody who just plays way too much of this game and trying to remove whatever bias that creates. But there have been a lot of discussions about this.
You're very in your head about Shadowbringers, DJ. Just enjoy the game, man.
I know. I do. But it's also been, it's a long-standing tradition for Final Fantasy fans. Look, whenever a new one comes out, it's like, okay, where do we definitively place this within the pantheon of Final Fantasy games? Is it better than, insert your favorite Final Fantasy game here.
Right.
Where does it stack up? And for the longest time, those top spots there was a lot of disagreement. They usually went to a small handful of games, though. It was like 6 and 7 and 9, generally the favorites. They're up there. It's very, very contentious if you were to say something is better than all 3 of those games. But for some reason, this came out and that was the conversation. It's like, ooh, can we put Shadowbringers or even just Final Fantasy XIV as a thing up there? And everybody just lost their minds. First of all, Final Fantasy XIV is an MMO. Is that even a real Final Fantasy game? That's another discussion, but I think it's something to consider. So in the last 6 months or so, this has been out. I've been thinking about this a lot, as I said. And I think the best way to describe it is I've given the TV show analogy, which is Final Fantasy XIV is a long-running TV show, and each expansion is like a new season of it. So I think and there's a lot of other connections that come out of that. There's a lot of, reoccurring characters. Mm-hmm. If you've been watching the series or playing the game since the first season, essentially.
Right. And
that is kind of an advantage of it being an MMO, is that it's all been one continuous story that's been building up for years and years. So you have that kind of payoff in history to everything that happens in each successive expansion. And so with that in mind, I am finally confident in saying that if you have been playing Final Fantasy XIV since the original, maybe not the original, the 1.0 release, that was bad, but the 2.0 relaunch, if you've been playing the game and following the story since then, and you know the characters and the history and everything, then because of Shadowbringers, Final Fantasy XIV is the best Final Fantasy game.
Wow.
If you haven't been, and for some reason you're just, one of those people who is like, oh, the last season of Breaking Bad is pretty good, maybe I'll just watch that. and skip the first 5 or 6 seasons or however long the show is on, I think you can still get some value out of just the Shadowbringers storyline. It's still very good. It just feels like everything, like there's not really any like Deus Ex Machina moments. Everything feels very well explained and earned throughout the story, which I think is like, I don't know, I feel like it's kind of rare in games, or especially JRPGs. A lot of weird plot threads just seem to pop up out of nowhere, and people just are okay with it. But in this one, it just, it draws from the past 5 or 6 years of storylines up to this point. It makes a lot of new connections that weren't there before. It reveals a lot about sort of the history of the world, and it really makes you see a lot of the characters in a new light and gives them things to do where they have like really like newfound meaning and resonance, which is really exciting, especially since like some of these characters I thought were kind of lame when they first showed up, but now I'm just like, oh, it's great. They're now like these like beloved Final Fantasy characters instead of just these weird MMO NPCs that give you a quest every once in a while.
Oh, interesting. Wow. So that's a lot of weight to carry, I think, for an expansion on a game to, one, sort of serve as this standalone thing, but two, provide payoff to everybody who's been invested up to that point. I suspect there's a lot of work that has to go into balancing that.
What do you mean, like making it appeal to both, like the whole range of audiences? Right,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's tough because I've been like very enthusiastically recommending this to people to check out because I think it's really good. But at the same time, I know that if you just jump into it and like speed through all the earlier stuff,
right,
you're not really going to get the full experience, the full appreciation. And this is hilarious to me because this is totally my thing where I'm just like, I can't play Final Fantasy 14 unless I played all the 13 previous ones. That's not a good example because they don't have anything to do with each other, but you know what I'm talking about.
This is a really good game if you can devote 5 to 6 years of your life to it.
Yes, and it's been ridiculous because this has been a great year for this game, just like me playing this game, because like a bunch of my friends have gotten into it, including like one of my friends who I played all the old Final Fantasy games with back in like middle school, and he was like, "Hey, I heard this one's good. I heard like Shadowbringers is good. Maybe I should check it out." And I'm like, "Yes, you should do that." Just know that you're gonna have to play through all this old stuff. And he's like, okay, well, if you say it's good, I'll check it out. So he's just been doing that for most of 2019. Just recently got the Shadowbringers, in fact, because there's just so much stuff that you have to get through. And admittedly, some of it is not very good by kind of modern gaming standards. Because it's like, it's quite old at this point. It's like 5 or 6 years old, and it's, an MMO where the presentation is just not as engaging as other video games you could be playing. So it's a big ask of people to say like, hey, you should really play Shadowbringers because I know you like Final Fantasy games, but also here's 3 other Final Fantasy games you have to play before you get the Shadowbringers.
But also don't play it until you do this other homework. Yeah.
Right. So it is a lot. So that's been a little bit frustrating to me. But the point is, if you're able to get through all of that, or even just like get through most of it, it is just a landmark accomplishment in storytelling and like RPG design. It's really something, and I think everybody on the development team should be incredibly proud of themselves.
Cool.
Anyway, Final Fantasy.
Yay. Speaking of the gifts that keep on giving.
Yeah, no, it's still going.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've been just entertained by every time that there is an update or an expansion to the Final Fantasy 14 world. You're like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like this. I'm not really sure if I care anymore. And then, oh my God, it's so good, guys.
Well, here's the thing. So like with the last 2 expansions, I was just like, I really liked the first one, Heaven's Word, and then the second one I also liked a lot. But at that point, I was like, it's another kind of episode of this thing. I know I'm going to like it. I know, it's going to be really good. Probably be on my Game of the Year list. But this one is just, it's above and beyond anything else on the list. It is, I couldn't believe it as I was playing through it. Like, how did they manage to pull this off?
Wow.
I'm still kind of in shock.
The final game that I want to talk about on my favorite list of 2019 games is Luigi's Mansion 3.
Ooh.
Man, I love this game. I just adore it in so many ways. I've not finished it yet. I'm super close. There's I think 14 or 15 floors in the hotel. It is a haunted hotel this time. And I'm on the 14th floor. I'm in the home stretch. But I think I've consumed enough of it. I've consumed 14 floors and 2 basement floors of this hotel, and I can kind of unequivocally say that I love this game.
You're not worried that like the 15th floor is just going to be 3 hours of terrible cutscenes?
Right. No, there's none of that. It knows what makes this game fun. It knows that, one, scaring Luigi is always funny. And it does a lot to scare the crap out of him all the time.
That's terrible. Are you just saying you're playing this game for the enjoyment of Luigi being terrorized?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I had no idea that was the angle.
Just a shivering, quivering, quaking, nervous wreck of a man tiptoeing his way through a haunted mansion trying to rescue his friends. It
does really line up with everything I know about Luigi. It's just he is a man whose fate in life is to just be tormented.
Right. And his brother is this sort of essentially kind of world famous, world saving adventurer. And he would love nothing more than to just fall asleep in his lazy boy with the TV on. Right. And has constantly been dragged along on these ridiculous adventures, and finally has kind of one of his own that even he doesn't want to participate in. He would much rather just go to sleep. But out of obligation, out of love for his brother and whatever Peach is, I was going to say his sister-in-law.
It's not really clear.
They're not really married. I don't know what that is about, but and some toads. He is willing to endure 15 floors of nightmares to rescue them. The mechanic of capturing ghosts is fun every time. The mechanic of just wandering around the rooms of this hotel and vacuuming things, vacuuming the rugs off the floor, vacuuming the books off the shelves, is super fun and kinetic, and everything kind of shakes and quivers as you point the vacuum cleaner at it and suck it up. Everything has coins and gold bars and sometimes spiders and mice hidden inside of it as you suck the wallpaper off the walls, essentially. You get a mechanic late in the game that is like super high powered, like end of days vortex vacuum. And it requires you to plug your vacuum cleaner into a special electrical outlet that allows it to go in like 10,000x overdrive mode, and Luigi sort of deploys it, and it's like ripping the wallpaper and the windows and like all of the furniture out of the room, and just the whole room just turns into a swirling vortex, and like just rips the paneling off the wall so that you can see the wires and stuff underneath. It's just a delight every time. It gives you a new upgrade or some weird new thing to explore. Every time the doors open on a new floor, each floor has its own theme, and the themes are ridiculous. The themes are like Godzilla monster movie is one theme, pirate ship Sea of Thieves essentially is one of the floors. So you open it up and there's a giant pirate ship on the 12th floor of the hotel, and you're like, who put this here? Why is this even here? There's a movie studio on one. There's a greenhouse on another floor that has completely been overgrown by like a horrible plant that is just tearing down the walls and creeping through all the windows and stuff like that. It just on top of another thing, on top of another thing, on top of another thing. So every time the doors ding open up on a new floor, it is this fun and ridiculous revelation of like, oh, I know what the theme here is. I can't believe they did that. That's ridiculous. And then you explore and it's fun. And yeah, I kind of don't ever want it to run out of floors. And the thing that makes
just saving that 15th floor.
Right. That makes me super sad about coming up on the 15th is that there's no more weird. I'm never going to have that moment again where ding, the elevator door opens up and Luigi creeps his way out and looks around and his eyes kind of go left to right as I, the player, go, oh shit, are they doing pirates on this floor? Yeah.
What if you finish that floor and then surprise, there's a second inverted hotel sticking in the ground that you gotta go clear out?
That would be amazing. That would be fantastic. This package also has like a multiplayer co-op element to it. It has a multiplayer online battle system. I've not explored any of that stuff yet, so there's no danger of me running out of Luigi's Mansion content anytime soon. But yeah, as I come to the end of the campaign, it is feeling a little bittersweet because it means my time with Luigi's Mansion 3, at least sort of, the core exploration and rescuing my friends element of it is kind of coming to an end.
Oh.
Yeah, but this game's a blast. It is just a delight in every way. You have it. At some point, you battle a ghost shark. That's not a spoiler.
Excellent.
That's just a thing that's in there. And it's a shark, and you get a little bit of Jaws, and you get a little bit of Pirate Movie with it. But it ends with you trying to sort of basically boat the shark with your vacuum cleaner backpack. And Luigi, for no reason that's explained, tries to reel him in. So you see his little hand on the suction wand of the vacuum cleaner, like working a reel, like he's trying to reel in a fish. Mm-hmm. It's not referenced in any way. It's not pointed out unless you look at it. But yeah, he's trying to reel in the shark. And I'm like,
some weird little details.
Why is that even in there? It has no bearing on anything. It's just a weird little detail. And it is a game of weird little detail after weird little detail that continue to sort of be endlessly delightful every time I encounter them.
Nice. Yeah. If Hideo Kojima had directed this, there would have been a slow camera zoom in to Luigi just reeling that thing. It would have been like they would have talked about it for 15 minutes afterward. There's just no detail gets unscrutinized.
I mean, that's the fun part of being Luigi is that he doesn't talk. So you don't have to sit through a lot of dialogue from him sort of opining about the nature of his life and existence.
Yeah.
You get little vignettes. You have a sort of sidekick character who talks in your ear pretty regularly. But even he's pretty entertaining too. So yeah, it's good. It's a really good game. Luigi's Mansion 3 would recommend.
Nice.
Yeah.
I feel like this should be on my list of shame, but somehow it has escaped, so I added it on there.
I think you would enjoy it. I think you sort of delight in the battiness of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like one of those games where it's just like, fun, inoffensive Nintendo content. It just feels like, I don't know, not a lot of time pressure to get to it. It's just a nice, reliable Nintendo thing.
Oh, sure.
For whenever I'm in the mood.
It will be just as good when you get to it as it is today, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think one of the reviews, and I think I remember talking about this when I reviewed it initially on the show, that one of the blogs said it was the most Nintendo game ever.
Yeah,
and I think
description.
Yeah, if you've consumed Nintendo games, I think you get that reference, and I agree with that. It is. Yeah, I won't unpack it here because this is not the place for it, but yeah, I feel like it is kind of the culmination of modern Nintendo in so many ways.
Yeah.
So that's it. That was a lot of games, man.
That was it. Yeah. Shout outs to the remaining games on my list of shame. Life is Strange 2. I really liked the first episode. I was kind of waiting for all the subsequent episodes to come out to go back to it, and now they are all out, so I should probably put my money where my mouth is. Judgment, the Yakuza-ish detective game. I want to check that out. Trials of Mana, the lost Super Nintendo RPG that I've been waiting for 25 odd years to play for it to be in English. And it came out and I was just like, I don't have time for this. But this year, I'm going to play some weird stuff so that all those things are going to be on it. Finally.
My list of shame, I think, is a little bit shorter. I definitely want to get to Return of the Obra Dinn.
Yep.
I definitely want to get back to Dragon Quest XI. I feel like those games are kind of right in my I'm gonna say it again, my wheelhouse when it comes to gaming. They do all the things that I like about games, and just unfortunately did not get the time that I needed to spend with them. Also, Astral Chain was a game that came out over the summer. It was this is one of the new Platinum games, I believe. It feels like every kind of month and a half there's a new Platinum game. They are very prolific.
I hear real mixed things about that. I'm wondering, playing through it on easy will just solve all of it.
Maybe. Yeah, I've heard some of the combat can be really frustrating, but that's where baby mode comes in.
Baby mode. Yeah, that's right.
But this is a game of kind of weird asides too. I think, again, from some of the reviews that I've read, it is, you can sort of walk the path and kind of, do the job in the game, or there's a ton of weird little things that you can sort of encounter in the asides of it. And that sometimes is more satisfying and more entertaining. So, I'm down for some weirdness. And I love the look of this thing, so I'm eager to get to Astral Chain at some point. And last but not least, A Hat in Time. This was a game that came out, I think, in 2018, but finally made it to consoles this year. It appears to be everything that I love about kind of what I call mascot platformers, the Sly Coopers and Ratchet and Clanks of the world, done in a modern way. I'm looking forward to getting to it, but just did not get a chance in 2019.
Yeah, I want to check this out too.
Yeah, it looks really good.
I'm not even a huge mascot platformer fan. I just like a goofy character in a top hat.
And a giant hat, Yep. And then there's a mechanic where you get a bunch of other different hats and they all have cool powers.
Oh, that's also extremely good.
Yeah, I'm satisfied by that. Somebody should make a Mario game like that.
Yeah. I wonder what that would be like.
We also had a few other folks from our Discord chime in on their Game of the Year picks. Goddamn Milkman says his favorite game of the year was Devil May Cry 5. That seems to be a Discord favorite that came up a number of times throughout the course of the year and was always referenced with much love.
And Capcom was on fire this year. They had Iceborne, Devil May Cry, Resident Evil 2 was like a huge thing.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
That was like way early. And we never played any of them, so I'm glad other people are chiming in saying that they're up there on the list.
Yep. Gogs 108, he gave a shout out to Mortal Kombat 11.
Excellent.
And a special mention for Monster Hunter World Iceborne, which you also appreciated.
Yeah.
N.W. Wilson, or N. Wilson, excuse me, agrees with me that Luigi's Mansion was one of the great games of the year. And last but not least, Rocker Dude couldn't narrow it down, but he said Guacamelee 2, Time Spinner, Super Epic, and Untitled Goose Game.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good list.
I appreciate the Goose shout-outs.
And I appreciate sort of off-the-path games that I had never heard of. It when Time Spinner and Super Epic came up, I was like, what are those? Let's Google them. Let's add some more games to the list I need to play.
Are you not playing Super Epic?
I'm not playing Super Epic, no.
All right.
Nope. You?
No, maybe next week.
Yeah. All right, we'll get to it.
It's on the list somewhere.
Cool. All right, so 2020, DJ, new year, new you.
No more new games.
No, this is your... You know that no new friends thing? DJ's doing no new games, yeah.
Wait, what is the no new friends thing?
That's a thing. Maybe it's a meme or something like that, but I've seen t-shirts that say that it's the Friends logo, but it says no new friends. I think it has something to do with sort of like as people get famous or get rich, like new people kind of emerge in their lives and take advantage of that. So when you become famous, you're supposed to just stick with your core group, stick with your bros.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So no new friends.
I did not realize that was okay. No new friends.
Yeah. So your motto is no new games.
No new games. We'll see how long it goes.
That's going to be tough.
It is, but I feel like we can make it happen.
I'm going to play all the new games.
Okay, yeah. Okay, well, then good. You'll be there to pick up the slack while I play JRPGs from the 90s.
Right, exactly. DJ's not going to play any.
I feel like, people are already saying 2020, looking ahead, it's kind of a slim year for game releases. Maybe they just haven't released the whole lineup yet because we've got the new consoles coming out.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is the year to really make some progress on that backlog. Yeah. Get to those games we've been putting off.
That seems to be the consensus in our Discord as well. There seems to be a lot of folks who are like, I'm just going to play old games. This is nothing coming that I'm aware of. Man, it feels like after what's May? May is The Last of Us 2. It's all gray. It's all cloud of war after that. I have no clue what's coming. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Probably Call of Duty on the PlayStation 5.
Undoubtedly. Fortnite on your refrigerator.
Yeah,
I'm
finally.
gonna play Fortnite on my Instant Pot.
That,
All right, let's wrap the show.
Okay.
I don't know.
I got nothing.
Nothing. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, you should definitely follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover or head to our blog at VGHangover.com.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, the aforementioned Discord is a thing. Get in there.
Do it.
What are you
Tell
waiting
us
for?
about your favorite game of 2020.
Yeah. Wait.
I don't know. No, don't tell me because I'm not going to play it. Tell Randy about it.
Tell me all about it.
Tell me your favorite game from 1985. I'm going to check it out.
All right. We'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See ya.
Oh, it was a long one.